The rapid US military buildup across West Asia is fueling speculation that Washington could launch a military strike on Iran as early as this weekend, amid rising regional tensions and heightened naval activity near maritime checkpoints. The United States has significantly expanded its military footprint across the West Asia, deploying advanced air assets, carriers, strike groups, air defense systems, and surveillance platforms across the Gulf, Jordan, and the Arabian Sea. US aircraft carriers, guided missiles, destroyers, attack aircraft, and refueling planes are now positioned to allow rapid strike capability, while air defense systems protect key bases from missiles or drone retaliation. Officials say the posture is defensive, but the scale and speed of deployments point to readiness for swift offensive action if ordered. Listen in to US White House Press Secretary.
There's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration. He's talking to many people, of course, his national security team, first and foremost, and you know who the members of that team are. And this is something, obviously, the president takes seriously. He's always thinking about what's in the best interest of the United States of America, of our military, of the American people, and that's how he makes decisions with respect to military action of any kind.
In what appears to be a direct response, Iran, Russia, and China have launched joint naval maneuvers near the Strait of Hormuz under the Maritime Security Belt 2026 framework. Russian and Iranian naval forces, including IRGC units, are conducting drills in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean, with Chinese vessels also participating. Russia's Baltic Fleet corvette Stoiky has docked at the Iran's strategic Bandar Abbas port, signaling a coordinated show of force in one of the world's most critical oil shipping routes. With US forces on high alert and rival powers operating in close proximity near the Hormuz checkpoint, the risk of miscalculation is rising every move, every movement, and that is being closely watched, and the possibility of a weakened US assault is also round the corner. Now, there are 30,000 US troops to 40,000 US troops deployed in the Gulf. F-30s, 16s, Hornets, 18s, refuelers, Strato tankers, THAAD system, Patriot system, submarines, USS Gerald Ford, USS Abraham Lincoln, all of them have been deployed in the Gulf theater. You name the jet that was deployed in Venezuela, it has been deployed in Iran, around Iran. EI systems, air command centers, AVOCs, all of them have been deployed. On this issue, I am joined by Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, NA Commodore Dr. Ashwinder Singh Bahal. Thank you, both of you. So, my question is very simple, and I'll go to General Chauhan first. Sir, do you think that there will be deterrence this time with the Chinese and Russian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, or do you expect the Americans can still go ahead?
Good evening to you, Kartik. Thank you for calling me for your show. The Russia, China, Iran naval drills called Maritime Security Belt 2026 in and around the Strait of Hormuz are not really in any way routine exercises. Their timing, their location, participants directly intersect with the emerging US operational planning against Iran. And that really comes back to the issue is, will US attack despite that? It's a strategic reason, and I personally don't think this attack can happen so quickly. But what does it mean militarily? What do these threats mean militarily? Russia, China, and Iran have deployed warships and support vessels for joint exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. These drills, and this is an important factor, include maritime security, ship interdiction, and coordinated naval maneuvers, officially framed as anti-piracy and trade route protection. But here is where the issue is. They coincide with the major U.S. military buildup, including the carrier strike groups positioned in the region and fears of possible U.S. strikes in Iran. Iran has also conducted live fire drills and temporarily restricted parts of Hormuz during the exercise. And with this happening simultaneously, it is a big thing because the chances of a problem, chances of an accident, chances of anything happening are very, very high today, Karthik. And any conflict with Iran becomes immediately a maritime control battle, not only just an airstrike campaign. So, U.S. war plans historically depend upon these, the uninterrupted carrier operations, secure sea lines, protected logistics. So this is not going to happen with the Russian, Chinese naval ships there. So I don't think, Karthik, with all these issues there, it's possible for the US to attack Iran while these naval drills are going on. And I think that's the whole idea of this is that to allow US to take a breath, allow Iran to take a breath, and to try and control the situation because there is no telling what might happen if an accident happens on sea. Even if a naval vessel of the Chinese Navy is hit or a naval vessel of the Russian Navy is hit, or while carrying out these operations, something else happens. It's a difficult process. And I personally don't think any kind of attack can be at least seen this weekend.
Okay. Okay. You're saying that this attack is not possible, Commodore, Dr. Bahal. Do you think it's like Bay of Pigs crisis? Not in that sense of the word where, you had nuclear missile station in Cuba, but akin to that where you have Russian and American warships in the same area?
Kartikeya, first of all, Jai Hind, and thank you for calling me. And the general did come up with some lovely analysis. So let me just take it forward. First thing first, there is meetings going on in White House. People are telling in the Situation Room that they are ready for weekend strikes. Secondly, the large deployment of warships, 2 aircraft carriers. We are looking at 200 plus combat aircraft, which includes F-15, F-16, F-35, F-22, which are state-of-the-art B-2 bombers, B-52 bombers. We are looking at a complete deployment for a situation where war is likely to take place. Though Qatar, Oman, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and as well as Afghanistan, have said you cannot use any territory of theirs, oblique Afghanistan has come out more in support. Now, in addition to that, the US has deployed forces at Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain, which means not utilizing those 4 countries, and their air defense assets are also based over there, which implies that if they carry out strikes, then probably the concentration will be from these 3 countries. That said apart, let me tell you that situation, like you said, is extremely critical and any miscalculation can lead to attacks. But at the same time, my own perception is that what is America going to achieve with these attacks? Yes, it can carry out large scale death and destruction in Iran. It can hit at the leadership targets of IRGC as well as some political leaders. But can it go and kill the one major target, Khamenei? Nobody knows where he is. There are hundreds and several hundreds of tunnels and bunkers all over Iran, especially in the northern region where there are mountains. Nobody knows where is Khomeini. So if he wants to do a regime change, if he wants a permanent change, then what is the point if at the time of attacks they can only attack at physical military or political military leadership targets, those that cannot bring about a regime change? That is one issue at one side. And second thing is, though Iran may be weak, though America may be very strong, but in every target system, there are centers of gravity. And what is the center of gravity, which is the crucial vulnerability of the Americans? It is their 2 aircraft carriers. And second is the basis, but most important, the third center of gravity is Israel itself, which is just 470 kilometers in length, 115 to 135 kilometers in width, with the width reducing to 19 kilometers at certain places. So imagine, and you know what is the total size of Israel? 21,500 square kilometers. And what is the size of national capital region, Delhi, and around surrounding areas? it is 55,000 square kilometers. So what is these? I'm just putting it in perspective. Iran has a large number. In fact, I would put it around 5,000 plus ballistic and cruise missiles. It has tens of thousands of drones, which it has been storing over a period of time. And now, my own over target requirement calculations, which means that what is the amount of weapons that must be dropped to neutralize a target system such as um, aircraft carrier, then I tell you, we need about 100 to 125 drones, a few petrol attack crafts, a few midget submarines. Incidentally, they have 20 midget submarines. And in addition to that, we need just about 40 to 50 ballistic missiles, some of them being either Fatah or Khorramshahr 4, which means they could be hypersonic, they could be maneuverable, very difficult to intercept a 16 Mach missile, and that to maneuvers. So what will happen is, though America will cause large amount of destruction, but if both the aircraft carriers goes, imagine it is something like a big dada getting a hit which bloodies his nose, and everybody says, though there is a country which has lost a lot of people, a lot of destruction on their military equipment, but America too has got a bloody red nose, and with Israel getting battered at the other end.
Okay, so General Chauhan, my question to you, let me come back, is what is making America so aggressive? I mean, so there has to be some sort of a military assessment which will be based on some sort of a political outcome which their government desires in Tehran. Do they think that Iran is ripe at the moment so that they can do this? Because who deploys so much of forces unless and until there, you warrant some action? I mean, so 2 aircraft carriers, there are 20 refuelers, people are tracking movement of various ships, stratotankers in Diego Garcia, 40 fighter jets in Jordan. There are 3 submarines in that Gulf. But who does that if you are not serious about the intention?
Kartik, I don't know if you remember what happened in Venezuela. There was a huge deployment of US ships at that time also. But what did America do? It carried out a singular strike on the leadership the moment they confirmed where the leader was. And they took out only the leader, the rest was a smokescreen. I see this huge deployment today as a smokescreen. They are looking very, very closely at where Ayatollah Khamenei would be. They're looking very closely at where the leadership of the Iranians would be. And they're looking to carry out strikes at that point only, just to take out this leadership. Now, the issue here is, Kartik, that by taking out this leadership, as the Air Commodore said, will we or will the US be able to change the regime? If you remember 10 days back, or 15 days back, Iran had a series of demonstrations in the street. They were very large demonstrations. People were out in the streets. If at that time a strike had happened, maybe the regime could have tottered a bit. But at the present moment, the demonstrations have absolutely reduced. The leadership has gone into a bunker. They've had a lot of time to do all these issues. And thirdly, I can't think of a single strike or 2 strikes or 5 strikes that can be carried out to paralyze the Iranian leadership at the moment. The Iranian leadership, has a very strong IRG command, and probably any replacement of the Ayatollah.
So we cannot have an Iraq sort of an operation, sir.
I can't think of an operation of this kind. I can only think of this being a smokescreen and an attack being launched on the leadership as soon as they get a confirmed situation as to where the leadership is.
Okay. So, Dr. Bahal, every military action requires a political outcome. There's a political outcome in Venezuela. The entire regime has become compliant. Do you think, it's a political question, sir, I'm asking you, by taking out Khamenei, will the entire regime in Iran become compliant? There is a compliance in Venezuela affecting the policy. Do you think by picking out that person or a couple of people who are part of that larger Supreme Council, will there be compliance? I think that's the bigger question.
Very nice question. In fact, this is the pertinent question which is troubling the Americans also. So let us look at the succession, How do they choose a Khomeini leader? They have assembly of experts, which are 88 in number, which are clerics actually, who decide who's going to be the next supreme leader. So now in this case, it could be Mojtaba Khomeini, who's the son, and his cousin Hassan Khomeini. They are the two main contenders, and it could be anybody else. But the decision is taken by the assembly of experts, and they will decide. And even when we talk of Pezeshkian, and he was elected for 4-year term, or 290 other parliamentarians who have been elected, they are under guardian council, which is looking at each and every action of the elected members. And it's where theology goes over democracy. Now, there is a well-established system. They have got a succession line in place. The succession line may not mean Khomeini's son may come up. It may come up any leader, but it will be decided by the clerics. Hence, they may have actually even decided, in case Khomeini gets killed or Khomeini is hurt to a great extent, then who's going to take over? They may have decided by now, because the succession for military leadership has been clearly identified and said, if X gets killed, then Y will take over. And so what my point and your point is, that if the succession is so clear, and if the riots that were taking place earlier have cooled down now, they are not at the same intensity as the general was clearly highlighting, then will they be able to carry out a regime change? No. But if they are able to knock out 2 aircraft carriers, we are looking at each aircraft carrier 3,000 to 4,000 personnel. We are looking at 75 to 90 aircraft. We are looking at the equipment and other things that form part of that aircraft carriers. I'm not even talking of the military bases from where they operate will be also hit, or Israel getting obliterated or getting badly damaged like it got towards the end of 12 days war in June 2025. And no air defense system in the world.
I don't know, sir, when was the last time a nuclear-powered aircraft was hit? I was doing my research before coming here. There are a lot of theories floating around that if the nuclear aircraft carrier is constantly moving, it is very difficult for a ballistic missile to hit very quickly. Is it correct, or is just that a Google Baba sort of a junk?
Okay, question is to me.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I will tell you, the current thinking of China is anti-access area denial strategy, which is basically linked to hitting the American aircraft carriers with the help of air and ground-launched ballistic missiles, as well as air-launched cruise missiles, and also drones. And they have got this strategy perfected. They are assisting the Iranians in identifying the location of the aircraft carrier, even though if they have switched off the transponder, the aircraft carrier within a particular area can easily be identified today, as they are virtually a runway on the seas. So they can be identified and they can be destroyed with the kind of ballistic missiles that are today, with better surveillance systems, with better navigation system, and better identification systems.
Better identification system. Sir, I'll come back to the moot question. I'll come back to the moot question. Do you think this time Russian and Chinese president will work as a deterrent? Because if it does, it will be a paradigm change.
KARTIKEYA, just for a moment, just think.
Okay.
There are Chinese and Russian vessels operating nearby. Their ISR environments are overlapping. And exactly as the Air Commodore said, with their ISR environments overlapping, nothing is invisible now in the sea. The identification, the tracking, the targeting, this complexity increases for the US and decreases for the defense of their aircraft carriers. What are the operational consequences here? These are tighter rules of engagement. The escalation decisions are actually much slower now, and the political clearance thresholds are much, much higher. These issues alone can delay and reshape strike timelines, which is why I'm saying that I don't see this happening till this exercise is happening. This anti-access messaging that the Air Commodore was saying, though Iran lacks blue water parity with the US, but gains strategic depth through partners. Though they are not alliances, but at the moment, they are in those waters, and they become partners by default. These drills demonstrate clearly shared maritime awareness, as the Air Commodore was saying, interoperability signals, political backing against isolation. These are important factors, Kartik. I can't see the US actually doing this. And Russia framed this explicitly as a part of building a multipolar maritime order. So this is an issue I thought I must cover. So there it is, Kartikeya. I can't see this happening at the moment.
Okay.